Podcast, people. Podcast time. It's podcast time. It's podcast time. Sam and I are going to chat about some stuff. It's been a fun, big, busy, exciting week. The weather wasn't as exciting, as crazy as it was last week. But, you know, some of the important things like parking and NFL kickers running their mouths at Catholic colleges. You know, the important stuff. The stuff that makes the world go round and why we wake up every morning and can't wait to come in here and talk about it. So anyway, we're Almost Agreement at gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. There's a link to Holler Boo. It is October 26th. So go ahead and mark your calendars. Get your derby cars built and ready because it's going to be a crazy one. Go to your favorite podcast provider on any of these places, on every way you can. Please like, share, friend, follow, 5-star review, text episodes to your friends, whatever it takes to get people listening to the show so we can get more conversation going about all the different things that are going on, because there's important stuff to talk about. And I think I'm going to turn on like my full lefty mode here for a little while tonight, going full lefty. So we'll get into that at some point. So here we go. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
How you do?
I be.
What's new? What's exciting? What's next going on in your world?
Oh, whole bunch of nothing. Same old.
Sweet. Exciting. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Where do you want to start? You want to start with kicker stories? I don't want to start with that. I don't even really want to talk about it. Other than I think the whole thing's ridiculous. What he says is ridiculous. The fact that I even kind of want to talk about it's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, he said some sexist and homophobic shit. Okay. I don't see why that's a big deal, especially at a Catholic school. Catholics are like pretty traditionally anti-gay, anti-abortion, anti-IVF, anti all sorts of stuff. Like, it seems like if you're going to go and talk about something like that publicly, that'd probably be the place to do it. That's kind of my thing on it.
I don't know.
If
you're that much in view, any words that you say are liable to be critiqued.
I agree with that, but like the thing to me is like they want the NFL to fire him. That's where it bothers me. It's like, okay,
who is they? Who are you talking about?
There, tons of people are posting and doing all sorts of stuff online saying like the NFL has addressed it, where they have put out a public statement saying that
it was like their director of inclusion.
That was
put
him.
Out a statement that all would say like, you know, his statements aren't reflective of the NFL's
that
views.
in and of itself, like who the fuck thinks that's what the NFL thinks? Like, does anybody think that just because you work there? I mean, No,
there's a little bit of de facto that if you don't, that you are then possibly, it can be viewed as condoning it.
And I think that's part of the problem. It's like, you know, like, I mean, that'd be like, so some dude that works for Walmart, some like greeter at Walmart's a racist. That means Walmart's a racist company? No,
I mean,
especially if he's privately a racist. If he's not doing it at work, I don't think that's grounds for firing.
No, but if they were doing it as in the capacity of them being known as a Walmart employee.
So if he was to stand on the corner of, I don't know, Main Street and Gay Street downtown, screaming homophobic shit, saying I work at Walmart and I hate gays, then Walmart should fire him.
I'm not saying they should fire him, but I'm just saying that some see the optics as if you're allowing that person to work there.
You're right. You're condoning this, whatever. My favorite meme on it though is like somebody might want to tell the guy that when the girls get out of their lane and play his sport, they usually have his job.
I mean,
that was a funny one.
When I worked at a major corporation, yeah, I couldn't even go into a bar with anything that signified that I worked at that place.
Yeah, I mean, and
that's just drinking. That's not. They didn't say like, "Hey, you can't go out and say crazy shit with a uniform on."
What was the field that the corporation that you worked for was in?
Automotive.
Oh, that one. Okay, I wasn't sure which job you were working to. I thought it was the abuse and health center that you worked for a little while.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how big they are really.
Yeah, but I could see that one being like, "Hey, man, you know, we don't want like." It could be a problem for us if, like, a parent of one of the kids that we have in our custody sees you out boozing it up.
Well-known brand. I mean, you are essentially a representative of it.
I guess I don't agree with. I don't agree with that part of it, and I understand. I do understand the statement you were making right now. I understand that is a general outlook, but I think that is part of the problem. is that you're like there's this weirdism. It's like, well, you're not an individual. You are your job apparently, and you have no independent thoughts that you have in your own head that you can share publicly because it may affect your job. That doesn't make sense.
I mean, did he go to that school or something? Was there some kind of connection?
I know he's just like
I don't give a shit, but he would not have been a commencement speaker had he not been in his position. So it took him being in that position to put him in that position to make those statements.
All right, I get where
he thought that.
I resent. No, I don't resent. I still think it's. I think it'd be funny if the NFL tried because of the contract situation and how that would. I'd be curious how that all shake down if the NFL was like.
Can NFL do that?
I mean,
does he work for the team or does he work for the NFL?
Well, he works for the team, but the NFL, like the NFL owns
a portion of each team. Or
well,
something?
no, most sports leagues are franchise companies. So like McDonald's, there's corporate McDonald's and franchisee.
Right, so
McDonald's.
the owners own the team that play in the NHL.
Right, but the owners of the teams of the owners of the franchises in this case are responsible to follow the rules and regulations set forth by the parent company, the NFL in this case.
Right,
and so. I don't know. It depends where it goes in all the contracts, and like I know they all have like decency clauses or something like that, but it's a really tough one to argue.
I'm assuming if it was just cut and dry, breaking their decency standards as you purport they could have,
right. He could get fined.
I think it would have been easier for them to just go ahead and fire him. Be like, hey, you broke those rules, boom. But I'm assuming there isn't. That it's probably just some kind of like vague gray area pledge, like. I pledge to be good.
Well, apparently, like 3 different chiefs got in trouble for different things in the same time period. Another guy got arrested. Did you hear the one? Oh, the golfer? Did you hear that one?
Yeah.
I still don't understand what the story is. So basically, there was an accident on the interstate or something on his way to the tournament, and the police were controlling traffic and told him to stop. And
it was in a lane that was designated just for like, I guess it was like right outside the golf course, but it was for people that were going into the course, I guess, to park. But there was, I think it was an employee of a vendor that was crossing the road and was hit by a bus.
Damn.
And was dead on arrival, basically.
Right. And so the cops were there trying to direct traffic, get things working, and make sure that this person, if there was a chance of saving him, could get saved. And if not, they had to figure out, is this a crime scene? We can't just drive through the crime scene yet. We got to figure out what's going on.
I think at that point they were trying to get like traffic, like trying to slow traffic and get people like around it and keep the line moving.
Right, but he didn't want to wait for whatever they were trying to tell him to do. And I guess the cop. This is the question I have, and you know me, I'm always a hater on cops or whatever. Is the question to be because the charges are not following directions of an officer, assault of the officer, and then like reckless endangerment or something like that. Because I thought it was funny because I was watching it on NBC News tonight. I think is when I saw it because they did how far he dragged him in yards, since that's how golf measures like whole length. I thought that was kind of. Yeah. I'm guessing that was intentional. Because if it's me, if I'm the reporter and want to emphasize it, I would say it in feet because it was like 10 yards.
Say it in inches.
Right. I would say like 30. Like drag him like 30 feet because that sounds more. That sounds like a bigger deal than 10 yards.
Right.
But it's golf, so 10 yards makes sense to golfers. So it works the same way. I thought that was a funny little snippet. But I guess my question is, did he say, no, I got to go, I got to get in there? And the cop was like, no, you need to stop. And I don't
think they've talked about any conversation that was had. I doubt he had his window down because I think it was raining anyway.
They said something about how it was the failure to follow instruction.
Right. Apparently they were telling him to like slow down or go around or stop. And
right. I don't know. My completely unbased assumption is that the cop reached his arm in the window when he saw he was trying to go, and that's what got him tangled in there and got him drugged 30 feet, 10 yards, whatever. 30 yards. I don't remember what the number was. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think he either grabbed a part of the car or...
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I mean, I don't know if that's assault. Like, if I'm running and you jump out in front of me, is that an assault? Because, I definitely hit you, but...
pretty sure, yeah. There's still some kind of crime in there of you hitting me with your car.
I'm just saying if I not running, not in a car. Like if I was just running on a track, and you ran out on the track while I was running and got in my way, and I ran you over with my body, would that be an assault?
Circumstances would have to come into play.
Well, and I think again, whatever. It's not.
If you're at a track meet, that lane is yours. I'd say, just if I was a runner next to you and I strayed into your lane and you ran into me and knocked me down.
I mean, there's been cases in hockey games where like cities have tried to do like criminal on a player when it was like an egregious. It wasn't like a hockey fight, like it was an egregious like attacked a dude with the stick kind of thing where they've tried to bring criminal charges on that, which I think is always kind of weird because this happened a few times. I don't remember any of the cases as they broke out.
I mean, it's not like once you're in the rink that all laws are the only laws that apply are the rules of the game.
So do you think in like MMA fights, in part of the paperwork it's set up is like
probably you can't sue
a liability release that you can't sue your opponent for kicking your ass?
Yeah, but there may be. I would like to think there's some kind of caveat in there if it was some kind of like crazy malicious thing. Because I mean, most are televised,
right? And depending on the state, you have mutual.
If someone did an illegal move and debilitated me, I would probably definitely sue the shit out of them.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's interesting.
Like it's one thing if you're, I mean, it's supposed to be a sport, right? It's one thing if you're engaging in this sport versus you're breaking the rules and doing something completely out of malice,
right? I get what
like
you're saying.
You were just,
I don't know,
pissed off and decided to gouge out my eyeballs. Like,
yeah, did you know
that's
that like,
not a part of the rules?
On the topic, like 4 boxers a year on average die in boxing.
Current boxers,
yeah,
okay,
like 4 a year, like over the last couple decades or whatever. Dana White was on the Bill Maher Stoner podcast. I don't remember what it's called. Have you seen it? Have you seen any clips of it? No. Like it's not his HBO show.
Right.
It's like
I know that's not a podcast. I understand.
Okay. Yes. But it's usually just one guest. Like it's a Rogan ripoff. I mean, all he does is just hang out and get high with people.
I haven't heard about it.
But Dana White was on there and he's talking about how it's like we've had 0. He's like it's been like 30 years almost of UFC.
Yeah.
Nobody has died. But like and Dana White used to box. That's where he got into combat sports as a boxer.
But I would say there's probably more boxing matches overall than there are MMA.
That's true.
MMA.
I mean, internationally, especially. I don't know. I mean, UFC proper versus like Pride Fighting, and then there's another one in Japan.
Well, I mean,
it's a major pro.
And Dana White's response, he's only talking about UFC.
Right. That's a good point. Fair point. But yeah, anyway, dragging cops down the side of the road on your way to a golf tournament's a bad idea. Apparently,
he said he misunderstood the police directions, basically.
That's his defense.
Like he didn't realize they were telling him to stop or whatever.
I mean,
he's apologetic. He's at least being apologetic about it.
Well, apparently he called or he got in touch with the family of the person who died.
Really?
To share condolences.
Yeah, I mean, he was booked in and released all within like a couple hours. And
he made his tea time.
10 o'clock tea time. Yeah. I think was he originally supposed to tee off at like 8?
I don't know. Usually, well, he's like the number 1 golfer in the world, and usually the better you are, the later your tee time is.
Right.
You get to go later. But that depends on tournament rules and shit like that. But it's also round 2. So, yeah, if he's doing well in the tournament, he should be starting later
it's up in
as
Kentucky,
the rounds progress. Huh?
It's up in Kentucky, I guess.
Yeah, it's Lexington. It's just up the street. There was a fatality wreck on 75 on the way to Lexington at the Jacksboro exit this morning, apparently.
I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, Anthony had called me because he's like, I might not make it to work on time. He's like, what? He's like, my dad called. He said he's been sitting on 75 right after he got on the interstate for like 45 minutes, and there's just a parking lot right now.
Yeah.
And there's no other way. Like, he's like, I got to go to Virginia. I was like, what? He's like, the only other way I can get there is to go up and around, and he almost gets to Virginia before he can turn around and get on Maynardville Pike Broadway. From where he's at, because you can't get over the ridge at like because it's on the other side of Big Ridge. You can't get over across to the Big Ridge, Dandridge area without going around.
Gotcha. I don't know.
It's pretty crazy. You don't think? I mean, I don't know. It's like, whatever. So parking lots. Have you heard any of this story this week? It's a big deal.
I don't think so.
All right, so I got a map up for you to look at. This is what the city put out. City paid some undisclosed amount of money to a consulting company to come look at downtown parking.
Oh, I think I did see something about that.
All right.
And didn't read the story. Sorry. Go ahead.
First of all, in the picture, we have this purple and pink where they've highlighted the parking garages in a darker pink purple and then all the surface lots in a pink. There's a lot of freaking parking downtown.
It's hard to see that.
Huh?
It's kind of hard to see
that. Yeah, it's not the most
choice.
Intelligent color combo. Yeah, you'd think you would make it a little bit more drastic. Like if this was a map that included like 6 other colors for different specifics, like, because it's not that
then you got to go to the odd shades,
right? And you're looking at they don't have the actual street parking as far as any of the parallel spots that are on Gay Street, on Main Street, on Cumberland, on, whatever. And they're only looking at what we would consider downtown proper, that being from World's Fair Park on the west side to the James White Parkway, and then the river to Interstate 40. So it's the old city. It's like the Midland Mine, I guess, would be the north end of it, to the river, and then World's Fair Park to just the east side of Gay Street. Really, that's all that's there. So to me, the first issue I see is like, why? Like we don't need more. I don't think we need more parking. That's a ton of damn parking in its own right. I do think it's interesting that they show the city county building as a garage, but it's not a public garage. Like it is a public garage. The city county owns it. The Public Building Authority owns it, but it's not a public parking space. You can't park there on the nights and weekends and stuff like that. As far as I know, I've never parked in there. I thought that was all.
I think it's only for like employee use.
Right. Employees, police officers, clerks, judges, the mayors, county commission, all those people.
There's one right there. Yeah, there's not one right next to it, or
it's all underneath
across the street.
So to me, the first thing, it's like, okay, well, if we need more parking, then we don't need more parking lots. We just need more garages on all these surface lots. That's a lot of surface lots.
Yeah.
But, it's like a 1 block square surface lot's like 25 spaces, where you could do a 5-story garage and have 100 plus spaces in the same amount of square footage on the ground. Or you could do my thing where all the surface level is parking and it's all buildings above. But, why you roll your eyes at it? It's a good idea. Like, not it.
I agree, it's a good idea, but
I mean, that's what this
talking about all new construction of tearing down, leveling, whatever.
Well, no,
this
is it replace surface lots with like 2-story parking garages with a mixed-use building on top.
Right.
But it's replacing a surface lot. I'm not saying tear a building down and start over, but I'm just saying on all these surface lots that are all over the place. Do some mixed use. Do some cool stuff.
No, but you're gonna have to prepare that area to then, and which may or may not be suitable to hold that kind of weight.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot of sinkholes in downtown.
Most of downtown, though, like most of the stuff that is a surface lot now had a building on it, had a 5 or 6-story building on it in the past 100 years.
How you know?
Because that's just factually true. I could find. Let me see if I can find it.
Let
me see if I can find a 1920s map of downtown Knoxville. But yeah, all of Gay. There was no surface parking on Gay Street at the turn of the from the 19th to the 20th century.
On Gay Street?
Yeah, because there's no cars. Why would you put a parking lot when there's no cars? Everybody's riding their horses.
When are you talking about?
From the turn from the 19th to the 20th century. So the late early 1900s.
Right, because there were no cars. Correct.
Right. They were all buildings. They were all buildings.
Right.
And most of them were 4 to 5-story buildings.
Right. You could pull your buggy up into Market Square.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like there were buildings there, so obviously the ground can handle the building. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Not talking about that area.
Plus all the buildings that. What do you mean we're not talking about that area?
So I'm thinking about more closer to the river, I guess, where they're talking about this proposed area and surface lots. Don't know what other surface lots you're talking about.
All of the pink is surface lots. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only like 8 garages in all those squares that you see. Hold on.
I see a good bit of pink. It's down on the river, which is pretty much Calhoun's.
Yes, and I'm not saying every single surface lot, but like the big one, the one next to the Bijou right here, that's a surface lot.
Right.
And actually, right here, that little thing in the corner of that's a garage that's been condemned for like 15 years. That's a 3-story parking garage. But it is literally falling down. And on purpose by the owner because historic people want him to renovate it. And he's like, I'm not renovating it. It's too much.
Right.
I could renovate it into an actual...
Because you have to bring everything up to code if you do.
Yeah, and he's like, I could, and if he could renovate it into out of a garage, but he has to keep he's supposed to keep the external basically the same, and it's like, it adds like I don't know how many $1 million to the project to do that. He's like, it's not worth me doing that. I'll just let it fall down.
Yeah,
which is literally what he's doing. Like, it's been a topic in planning commission and zones arguments, and they're like, he's been fined apparently a bunch of times. It's like I'd rather pay the fine. Because he's put applications for demolition in, and they keep refusing them. Because the historical project's like, no, you can't tear this building down. And so he's like, well, what do you want me to do? I can't.
Why does he still want to own it? Is he just like waiting for a high bidder to come in?
I don't know. I think the game when you're a developer like that, when you're a landowner developer like that, is you keep it until somebody comes to you to buy it with a project. You don't just sell it as is. because if somebody's getting ready to develop on it, the value goes up. I think it's the game.
Right.
But I don't know.
It kind of seems like a lose-lose situation.
He's paying
if
his
paying
taxes,
property taxes,
he's paying
and
his
he's paying fines.
Yeah.
To just watch it fall down, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, but his other option is to pay 3 times as much to build whatever on it because he has to keep the historical overlay. And so, okay, I lose, a couple $100,000 over a 10-year time span, or I spend an extra $5 million to build something on there and hope it works out. I think the former is the safer bet. Especially if he eventually gets the city worn down enough that they're like, fine, fuck it, demolish it, and then he can build something. And, he could pay $100,000 in fines over 5 years or whatever. And they give up, let him demolish it. He pays however much it costs to demolish it and then build what he wants to build and doesn't have to pay that extra $5 million, $10 million, or whatever it takes to keep the historical part.
I see that highly unlikely. I don't think the Historical Society is going to back off and be like, no, it's now an older building than it was like 3 years ago when you asked us.
Well, I think the longer he waits, the stronger his argument about it being uneconomical for him to try to renovate it. And the Historical Society has no legal right to keep making him do it. It's just that the city so far has been agreeing with the historical side. And I don't know. I think there's got to be some legal protections for a property owner that it's like, you can't fine me for not fixing a building that I can't afford to fix because the historical people want me to fix it.
It may just be fining them for
you
damage
can't
done
force
to
me
the city.
to sell,
if
right.
part of the facade's fallen
Yeah.
off into the concrete, and the city keeps having to come and redo the sidewalks because chunks of bricks
Yeah.
are falling down into.
And I would agree that he should be on the hook for any things that any damages his building causes public spaces. I agree with that 100%.
I don't know exactly what they're fining him for because they can't
Yeah.
find
I
somebody
think it's
for
like-
an eyesore.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But again, it's like, how do you find somebody for an eyesore? And when their response is,
That's what I'm saying. I don't think you can.
I think you can at some level. Is that it doesn't. I mean, that's the thing with that building that they were trying to build down on the river, is that it didn't. There's the certificate of appropriateness or whatever that the city wouldn't give them because the building didn't look the way that this within the city's visual guidelines.
Right.
Like literally, the company is building the exact same building with a different facade that fits inside the city's requests for the design aesthetic. So anyway, I don't know. And so
Talk to somebody in codes and something. I don't know.
Yeah, I did hint that I was going to go full leftist on this, and I'm going to say this is the opportunity to have the real conversation about being better at mass transit in Knoxville. There's plenty of parking downtown. Well, okay. Anyway, let me back up a second. I did get the fill in the full background yet. I'm sorry. This company that came in, that the consulted came in and did their thing. Their suggestion is to raise the parking rates by 50%. So it's $1 for what was $1 an hour would go to $1.50 an hour. Their suggestion is to, if not completely do away with free nights and weekends, at least move it back. So instead of free nights starting at 5, free nights start at 8 p.m. or something like that. And then one of the other ones that I think is kind of neat, actually, it's like how many people go into one of the lots at 4:30 or 4 o'clock, and then when free parking comes in, all the lots, the gate just opens. So
right.
You don't pay to get in, you pay to get out. Well, there's nobody checking the out, but you spent, you came down at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, did whatever, and you have 3, 4, 5 hours of what should have been paid parking that you don't have to pay for because you're leaving after paid parking ends. And so one of the things they're suggesting is that we upgrade our collection system, which I don't disagree. I think it makes sense realistically. It's like you upgrade, so like it'll be an app or something like that where you get in the app and you have payment connected to it, and you tell them what parking space you're in and it timestamps when you took the spot. And so even if you leave after paid parking closes, you still pay for that 2 to 7 o'clock or 2 to 5 o'clock at $1 or $2 an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
But then after that, you don't pay for the free parking period. But my lefty argument here is like, okay, jack the prices up. I agree with that. But let's earmark it where any money, any revenues from parking has to go into the CAT bus system to try to reinvigorate some sort of park and ride, some sort of something. Because like I don't like this has been This has been an argument for decades here in Knoxville, is that we don't have enough parking, we don't have enough hotels downtown. You've heard that argument 1,000 times, and I don't get it. The hotel one, maybe. I guess you could do the math on that. If you have this event here and this event there and this event here, that needs 1,000 hotel rooms, and we only have 800 hotel rooms downtown. I know we have more than that, by far.
I guess it kind of depends on what area of downtown you're talking about that doesn't have parking. I mean, even just trying to go to Gay Street, there's some around it, but you're walking 2 or 3 blocks, which
right. That shouldn't be that big.
I'm
a deal.
not out of shape, but I'm not a fan
right,
of it.
I don't like doing it either. You're right. I agree, but it's also not that big a deal because that was one of the things that they found in the study. It's like the Market Square Garage, this big purple one right here.
Right.
Like that one is full at capacity, like 96% of the time.
Yeah, I like that. That's one I use if I go to Market Square.
Right. And it's like that all the way. But then this other one that's over behind not the First Tennessee building, but the other bank building right there next to the old Federal building.
Home Federal, maybe.
Yeah, whatever. Home Federal's the sinking boat guy.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's First National or whatever. So you got the First Tennessee,
First Horizon,
the 2 super tall ones, and then you have the AJ building.
Okay.
Right. So if you're coming across the Gay Street Bridge from the south side, across the bridge, you got the old the Blunt Mansion, right? So Blunt Mansion. You cross that street, and then it's the AJ building, the building I can't remember the name of, and then you cross Main Street while you're still on Gay Street, and then the First Tennessee building is the next one. Anyway, not behind the First Tennessee building, but behind the one we can't think of the name of, that parking garage is never more than 15% full. Which that's a guy that I need to tuck that one away because almost every time I go down to City County or the Federal building for any reason, like when I go talk to Burchett, I always park in that surface level lot. But I guess it's probably cost me the same, so I might as well keep doing it because there's usually parking there.
Yeah. When
I go during the day, if the handful of times I do go during the day.
Yeah, but even if on a Friday night you want to go park behind there's not much that's there that you would most likely be going to.
You're right. The Bijou is the closest thing that you would be doing after dark down there.
Yeah.
So you're at least a block before you're potentially at anything.
Yeah.
But they're also doing away with the trolley, which would be a remedy for part of that, is that you just have to get up to Gay Street and hop the trolley and go.
Yeah. I like the idea of some kind of park and ride, not far outside the city.
Yeah. And so, to bolster my argument is on this post that the city put out that many of us pitched a fit about X, Y, or Z on, Daniel Buchanan makes a better public transit and or light rail argument, to which I said, yeah, let's charge a bunch more for parking and use that to subsidize a park and ride or something. And I got a thumbs up from Josh Stewart, whoever you are. Your picture doesn't look like a Josh. Oh, yeah, it does. Backroom Knox makes it into a drug reference, which is hilarious. Basically says that this parking thing that's been decades long of just kind of passing the buck by different city administrations and will continue to come to a head and nobody will ever really solve it because it's just one of those that it's not worth trying to fix. Nobody really knows. Nobody can really admit if there's an actual problem or not, what the problem actually is, how to actually go about fixing the problem.
Right.
Like, part of me is like one of the things, a lot of the business owners that are down there, I don't know if you saw this floating around, independent of this is a study, this study that the city actually paid for. Independent of that, a group of business owners downtown put out a lay survey. So it's not an official scientific survey of any sort, but it was they put out a survey, shared it on Facebook, on Twitter, or X, or whatever, and they put it around and pushed it around and said, "Hey, do a survey about downtown parking." I think part of that is there's a lot of concern from downtown business and people that are used to downtown the way it is, that when these baseball games start happening, it's really going to fuck with the chi of how things sit currently.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of these business owners are trying to prepare and look at that. And so they basically put it up. And I think what my take on it, and I should find somebody from the business group and see if I can talk to them and be like, yeah, my take on it is they think by doing this survey, they can take this survey to the city and be like, hey, we did this survey, we asked around, we know it's not like perfectly scientific or whatever, but like, if you're going to do away with free nights and weekends, that's really going to negatively affect us. Right. People say they won't come downtown if they have to pay for parking, which is fucking shitty by itself. Don't come down. Why don't come downtown at all? Why would you want to be downtown if you can't pay $2 for parking, or $5 or $7 or whatever is for parking? The only thing to me that is a true negative to charging for parking all the time is that it will put drunk people in a in a stupid situation that they shouldn't have to. That shouldn't add to the stupidity of driving drunk in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
How so?
Well, if I leave my car there, it's gonna be like $35. Like, you know, I got to pay $25, $30 for an Uber home. I'm pretty hammered or whatever.
No, if I leave it overnight.
If I leave it overnight, I'm gonna have to pay another $20-$30 for the Uber to come back here, and then I'm gonna have like a $50 parking fee. And that's, I mean,
those lots charged just straight up by the hour.
I guess that's one of the that's a possible plan. I don't know.
Gotcha.
They have their, like, I know some lots have daily rates, but that's for like a contracted deal. Like, you buy a pass and it's like $10 a day, or you buy a pass and it's like $100 a month, and you can park down there in a certain number of lots or whatever. There's stuff like that goes on too. But it's like, hey, you know, it's a Friday night. I want to go down and hang out in Market Square. I don't mean to, but I get really fucking sauced. It's like, fuck, man, I'm pretty hammered. I probably shouldn't drive. Man, I can't leave my car here though. It's going to cost me a lot. I mean, it's a stupid thing, but it's a real thing. I guarantee you it would be a real thing that would happen. So it would be wise for them to try to figure out something to help with that. And I still think it's my same thing with light rail that I've said. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. It's like it's not to intentionally condone drunk driving, but if I were to go and wanted to party it up on Market Square one night, for the greater community, it would be safer for all if I only drove from here to the mall instead of drove from here all the way downtown.
Yeah.
You know, it's because people are good. Like, that's just how people are. It's not okay. People should get behind the idea of taking a cab or taking a bus or taking some other way. But people do it, and they're going to continue to do it. They're going to drive home from wherever their car is. And so if we can shorten the distance of that drive through some logical system that's efficient, and I say efficient in cost and time, not efficient in green energy or whatever.
Sorry, I was just thinking of an idea.
Okay. But if we can make it efficient so that people would want to use it, and they can make the same logical leap that I'm making. It's like, hey, man, I can go down there. I can be a little looser. I don't have to, like, you know, it's still the bar's responsibility not to let you get shit hammered or whatever. And you shouldn't be an asshole and just get super drunk because you're not driving, because that's a bullshit attitude to take anyway. But, okay, I had one more than I should have, maybe two more than I should have. I certainly shouldn't be driving home. Cool. I'm going to get 90% of the way home, not drinking the entire time, to get to my car, and then only drive that last 10% with a buzz.
Yeah. Stop right, get AAA. Like, oh, my car won't start. I need to get it towed home.
Do the old order a pizza trick.
Huh, never heard that one.
You order a pizza for delivery, and
ask the person for a ride.
Pretty much like what?
Like, you going to go back to the pizza place with me?
Yeah. No, you go to the pizza place. You go to the pizza place and then order the pizza to your house, and then jump in the car with the guy. Assuming that's the pizza place that's your local delivery guy.
How did you get to the pizza place drunk?
Because the pizza place is next to the place you're drinking. I don't know.
Okay.
They do it in the movies, man. Right. It's got to be real.
No, I just had a crazy idea of like a team Uber type thing where two people show up in one car and basically drive your car back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you told me about. I'm pretty sure you told me about one of the things they do in like London or something like that. Is that the mini bike guys? I thought I could have sworn.
I don't think so.
Could have sworn. I mean, it's a service where it's like these dudes.
Actually, you throw up on like a foldable mini motorcycle.
I mean, like with the scooters we have nowadays, like those stupid scooters that run around downtown anyway.
Right.
All right. I mean, but it depends. Like if I were downtown and I was trying to use that service to get all the way out here, that's a pretty long ride on that scooter to get back downtown.
Right.
But that's
that person could be stuck. That's why I was thinking like a 2-person like Uber team. But then that first driver is still going to have to follow the other car all the way back as well.
No, I think you're right, but you do it a little differently. You basically say you're a carless Uber driver.
And you find a different Uber driver that's there to pick that other person.
Right. So you're a carless Uber driver and you hang out in nightlife spots and don't drink.
Have to cut this out.
No, I think you're onto something here. I really do.
I know. That's why I'm thinking you may need to cut this out. This could be a money venture.
I mean, and so you develop an app where it's like hey, we have a handful of guys that are hanging out. If you need a ride, they'll drive you home in your car. I think the insurance on that would be problematic on the business side of it.
That's right, yeah, because you wouldn't be
covered. You're driving the other person's vehicle,
right?
Whatever, but either way, I'm sure it'd be
you're
working
dealing
out.
with somebody that could be belligerently drunk, and you're driving their car,
right?
Like, hey, be careful with my car.
Yeah, but a belligerent drunk's a belligerent drunk, whether in your car or
they can fuck with you while you're trying to drive.
They can do that but if you're in your own car too, they could do that to you. Uber already exists on that part.
Yeah, their asses sit in the back, and you have that little plastic saran wrap screen up like they did during COVID times.
But, you know, but then when you get to the person's house, you drop their car off and you call an Uber for yourself to get you back downtown. Yeah. Which I think for Uber's sake, too, because they're doing the same thing. They're taking people out of the nightlife spots out into the suburbs. Yeah. It would be a bonus for them. It would be a way to fill the return trip for a lot of their drivers. It's probably not I mean, it would take some finagling, but I think it'd be a good service to add to. If I'll call Uber today, I'll call Uber tomorrow. I'll make some phone calls. Like, hey, I got $1 million idea for it. I mean, it really is. Like, but like, I think it's a great idea. It'd be like Uber driver or drive Uber. I don't know. Yeah, I have to work on the name. But I think it's a killer. I think it's a killer idea. I like it. Let's make it happen. Any software engineers out there, hit me up, because that's really all. That's all Uber is a software company. Yeah. Because then what we do with the service is you link it to Uber proper. And so, like, our service is independent, but when you put it, like, when our version of the app picks up the other driver, it puts the alert for an Uber driver to come pick you up at the location you're going to.
I think you'd have to increase the cost of it, because somebody's got to pay for that second trip, basically.
Yeah,
or that Uber driver's
right. Basically, you charge the guy that you're driving home whatever a reasonable fare is for that part, and the fare to get you back to where you were. Yeah. Which, I mean, it's really not a bad scam. I mean, because the inverse of that, like the
may or may not be profitable if you've got like a team that's having to ride around, because one of those guys is essentially without their car because he was just the driver of the other car.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, okay, so the Uber trip back is what it is. It should be cheaper because it's a return on, because generally speaking, I don't know, if you're going out of an entertainment district, those drivers are returning to the entertainment district to pick people up to take them back out anyway. Yeah. And so instead of them returning to the entire entertainment district empty, they get a reduced fare of one of these guys coming back. That gives them something on the return instead of driving back empty.
Maybe, yeah.
And so it's more expensive for me to drive your car because I'm driving your car, and then there's the added fee of what I'm going to pay a reduced fare to Uber to get back to the bar to pick up the next guy. Yeah. I think it'd work. I like it. Let's make it work. Let's make magic. Anyway, like I said, any software engineers out there that are bored and want to create a new app that takes over the world, we can do it. So anyway, like again, to me, I think I would hate to see. I would prefer the city not own as much land as they do downtown, because that's the other part. Looking at this, like, okay, so the streets, obviously, the sidewalks, obviously, Market Square, obviously, you know, all the roadways, all the different interstates and stuff like that. That's state property, whether it's city, county, state, federal property for interstates or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, of this block of downtown that we're looking at, like half is city-owned property.
Well, I've got to wonder, like, how much of that is still staying busy. So I think more often than not, people are staying home, not really going out as much.
Still. I don't think so. When's the last time you've been downtown on a Friday, Saturday night?
Long time.
It's slamming down there, man. Yeah. It's not. I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. Like, I went down there on like a Wednesday. So my sister-in-law went AWOL. Her phone broke, and nobody had heard from her for like 2 weeks. And so me and the missus and their mom and one of the brothers were like, no, I don't know. Nobody's heard from her. All right, this is getting a little weird. I try to call it, but you can't call a bar phone. Nobody answers a bar phone ever. So we try to call the bar she works at. Like, hey, you know, but nobody answers the phone. Yeah. And so I was like, fuck it. We just finished Jeopardy. I'll go down there and check it out. It was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. And it wasn't like slamming busy, but Market Square had a good volume of people on the square going in and out of the different places. Yeah. And this was early. It's 8 o'clock. And this was them prepping to start getting into the business of the night. Like, because you walked inside and they were cutting limes and stuff like that. This was prep for the night rush. Yeah. So they were ready for more action. But anyway, to me, that's what I see. And that's me being the weirdo that I am. Because the other part of it, too, is like there's chunks of this that are city property that aren't highlighted. World's Fair Park is city property. So that whole section over here, like this whole thing. So I guess, what's that, Henley Street? So from Henley Street to whatever street that is, that's the edge of campus, all of that is city-owned property.
There's nowhere to park in there.
I mean, there's some down here on the riverside of it, but yeah.
I think there's one lot on like the other side of like that little bridge. or the little underpass that you kind of drive under if you're actually down there, kind of driving around.
Yeah,
the
next to
Market Square.
L&N, there's a couple of little parking spots next to L&N and the art museum and stuff like that. Like way under, near the Foundry on the north side.
Yeah.
There's a couple of small lots in there. You know, but then you have the city-county building and its big lawn out front. You have the federal building. Again, you'd have to draw the map a little better or shade the map differently than what I'm seeing here. But, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading this, too. Maybe some of these surface lots are private, too.
Some are owned by the businesses themselves for their employees and their customers.
Yeah, that might be misreading it in that sense.
Or different apartments down there for residents only.
Yeah. But then why would they count those as lots in the city survey when they're talking about repricing and stuff like that? You know, I wouldn't count that as a as a lot for discussion if you don't have access to fix the pricing on it.
I don't know.
Anyway, alas, no, we don't need more parking downtown. Yes, we should charge more for it. Yes, we should reduce the amount of hours we should reduce the amount of hours that free parking is available. But we should use that for expanding the system of making downtown accessible without having to drive down there.
That would be nice.
That's my take on it.
I think it's still just kind of that.
Tyler,
that
you're wrong, buddy.
of-
I'll argue about it later.
I think it's still just kind of that issue. Is, the obvious push would be to increase CAT, usage, or increase CAT frequency, basically, bus frequency. But
Yeah.
they look at it and they're like, well, nobody's riding CAT anyway. Why would we
I don't
expand
know how
CAT service?
I mean, it would cost a significant sum to do the marketing and education to the public to make it known that these things. But I mean, it's one of those like how late does CAT buses run? Like I think they run till like 6, and then after 6, there's a very very reduced. Like after 6, it's like there's a reduced weekend route. Like weekends and after 6 is a very reduced, and I think they're done at 9.
I think so.
And so that's part of it too. It's like, well, if you're going to say, if we're going to try to put a system together to get me downtown to do what downtown does best, which is nightlife, but I can only ride the bus in, I can't ride the bus out. That doesn't help me much. I'm going to choose not to take the bus, even though that does solve half our problem about leaving cars there when you're drunk and stuff like that. Didn't bring my car down, so I could take the bus in for $1 and take an Uber out for 20.
Are there smaller CAT buses?
Not for regular use. They're special use as far as I understand them.
Would it be feasible to run those versus
Maybe
the
we should
larger
talk to somebody at CAT. I don't know. Maybe I should get somebody from CAT on the show and talk to them about it. I don't know. Like I don't understand. Like I don't know. To me, it's a question of will. What are we trying to do, and are we willing to do what it takes to do it? Are we trying to make downtown a less car, more foot traffic type of place? If the answer is yes, then you have to not care about parking. Not necessarily reduce parking, but don't make parking the most attractive means to do it. And for business owners down there, you'll be okay.
Because I wouldn't say downtown's like unpedestrian friendly, but it's not exactly the most pedestrian friendly either.
It's not. I mean, again,
There's a good number of crosswalks, but
So when's the last time you've been downtown hanging out, not working, not doing a delivery or something like that? I think downtown's different than you remember it, is I guess what I'm trying to get to.
I was down at Market Square like a month ago, but it was like a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. It's pretty slamming, probably, I would think.
That's pretty. It was like right after the farmers market.
Yeah. Here in a couple of weeks, you should come down to Market Square and watch me die.
Okay.
I'm rappelling off of the TVA towers. Or, I'm sorry, the whatever UT tower now, whatever it is.
Okay.
It's a fundraiser. You should come.
Nice.
I'm not really excited. I'm excited, but I'm scared to death. Like at the same time, I'm not we've talked about it. I'm not a heights person, and that's not a short building. So, yeah, come see me pee my pants.
Wear your
Off the
big
side of the
diapers.
But I don't know. It'll be fun.
I think I only ever did it once.
Rappelling?
That was no more than like 3 stories.
In high school? And what's his name class? Mr. Wallace Williams?
No, Boy Scouts.
Oh. Yeah, we did it. What was the name? Do you remember the teacher? You know what I'm talking about? He was like I think he was the volleyball coach. He was the girls' volleyball coach, but he did the wilderness and outdoors class.
I did hear about that. I never got to do it.
I got to do it. I think it was my first semester senior year. I got to do it, and we trapped animals in the little bit of woods behind the baseball field, and we did like some map reading and like it's basically a Boy Scouts class, condensed, but it's like basically like appreciation for the outdoors and things that you can do.
I remember hearing about that class. Yeah,
and one of the things that we got to do was rappel off the back of the stadium. And he taught us how to do the standard rappel, where we went down one of the posts of the stadium so you could walk backwards the whole way down. He taught us how to free rappel, where you just went straight down a rope with nothing to touch.
Yeah, you get your hand under you, basically.
Right, but there's no you don't have any how like normal rappelling, you're like jumping off the wall or whatever.
Right.
And then he taught us how to face first both ways too. So we're like where you're walking forwards like they do in the military, which is really uncomfortable.
Right.
But I was okay with that when I was 17, and it was only 25 feet, and you're not going to die even if you fall, most likely.
Most likely.
It didn't bother me as much back then. But yeah, again, I think I don't know. I'm not sure. I believe that this parking conversation is going to go anywhere. I guess is kind of the moral of the story. It's just going to be another like couple months of people talking about parking, whether they're pro parking or anti parking.
Like, all right, thanks for the feedback.
And then it's just going to kind of fizzle out, and nothing's going to happen. But like I said, I think the reality here is that this goes back to my stupid growth conversation, all the other stuff. What are we trying to do as a community, as a neighborhood, as a city, as a growing city? We should go fucking Metro. But as a growing city in the South, who it looks to me that the trend is that we're going to continue to grow. How do we want to manage that growth, and what do we want to do with it? How we're going to handle it? And I personally think the solution is no free parking, period. Don't make it stupid expensive, but make it noticeably expensive to use it. Use the revenues from that, because people are still going to use it. Use the revenues from that to install some sort of system to make it functional and feasible for normal people to do a park and ride of some sort that runs the whole set of hours. Because that's the big thing too, is that you can't have a park and ride system that only runs till 8 o'clock. Because if I'm working downtown and I work at a bar and the buses only run till 9 p.m.
Right.
and my shift starts at 6, I've got to find a place to park, and I got to pay for parking, and that's bad for me. But let's figure something out. Like, there's plenty of space other places that we could use, that we could utilize, and make some sort of system set up that's workable. That's my solution to it. Get on it, people.
Do
it. What else did we make? We made fun of the football player. Very interesting. District 9 in the county commission race has an official challenge to the veracity of a petition, and I forgot the names, which is going to make this a hard conversation to have. Basically, we have a Republican, we have a Democrat, and we have an independent. The independent's really a Republican, but didn't want to run as a Republican, decided to run as an independent. The Republicans said, he's not a real candidate, his signatures are no good, kick him off the ballot. Because they know that if he actually runs, he's going to take more votes from their Republican.
Okay.
And so they're trying to kick him off the ballot. And it's like, it's pretty crazy. The way Jesse described it today, it's like, the complaint is like, you have to have 25 valid signatures from people who vote in that area. When he turned his petition in, he had 35. The person who is challenging the petition says that 18 of them don't match their registered signatures. And like of those 18, the candidate in question knows all of them. Like one of them is his wife.
Is there a rule against your spouse being able to?
No, that's the thing though. It's like the person challenging is saying that's not a registered voter in the district in question, and the guy is like, that's my wife. We are registered voters in the district. That's the only way I can run for this seat, right, is because I am in the district. Right. And then it's like friends of his from church. Like he knows every name on the list of 18 that the guy submitted, saying that these aren't valid registered voters in this district. He knows personally, and to his knowledge.
Wait, Sorry, I might be confused as to who the he is. The person making the
They're
challenge.
both he's, which is right.
Right. The person making the challenge knows these people.
No, the
goes to church
person
with them. Okay.
The person who the challenge is against.
Gotcha.
Basically,
I think that adds that much more validity to it. Like, how you gonna challenge? Like, it's my friend. Like, what do you mean? Think I forged his signature? Like, the guy's my friend.
Right. It's
How hard do you think it would be?
There's like, it's 18 people. Chris Davis can go knock on some doors and be like, "Is this you? Did you sign this petition?" Cool, thanks.
Right.
Like, it shouldn't be that hard to validate. And so to me, like, it was a weird political move to make by this Republican set trying to do it. Because, like, I understand
for both of them to get in the news.
But it's not good for there's no way this is good for the Republican on the ballot.
Why?
Because they're
he
right.
looks like he's fighting the corruption. Somebody else trying to steal the election from him.
But the people that are likely to vote for the Republican So if I was going to vote, if the person in question was you, and this other guy gets you thrown off the ballot, do you think I'm going to vote for you or for the other guy, for the guy that got you thrown off the ballot? Even though we're somewhat politically aligned, we're closely politically aligned than the other candidate.
I'm going in the guise that he did this knowing that he wasn't going to be able to get him kicked off, but it looks like he's trying to clean up elections and fight election fraud. I don't know.
Maybe because this guy is like full Trumpy conspiracy theory. Pretty bad dude in that set of things. Oh, did you get
before he even gets to do anything? He's already like, I'm trying to help.
Right before I even took office, I put a battle into corruption. But yeah, so Chris Davis put out a public notice because they have to have a special meeting of the election commission to figure out how they're going to handle that.
I wonder if there's any kind of like violation against making that kind of like false accusation.
Doubt it, because how do you prove that it's a false accusation?
Right.
Because it's literally like, as far as I gather, it's literally this guy pulling up the petition document, looking at the signatures on it, and then pulling up the voter registry of the same person and visually comparing those signatures.
Right.
And like my signature is not the same 3 seconds apart,
right.
let alone
Same.
months or years apart.
Right.
So of course I could legitimately say these aren't the same signature. But anyway, I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think he's going to get kicked off the ballot. But I think it's just a weird, interesting political move because I think it's a no-win for this candidate because you're going to look like the sour grape in this, trying to get somebody kicked off who might steal some of your voters. But even if you succeed in getting them kicked off, those people aren't probably going to vote for you anyway.
Possibly.
It's likely that the majority of people that would have voted for you. Oh, and the other part of it too is apparently this guy that was running as independent was just like, I'm not going to not run for it, and I'm not going to say no if I win, but I'm not going to put a lot of effort into this campaign.
Maybe the other guy smelled blood in the water, and he was like, maybe if I do this, it might scare him into be like, you know what, fuck this, like I'm not going to run then.
Well, he can't unrun at this point. It's too late. The ballot's already set.
Oh, gotcha.
He can't back out. The only way he can get out is if he did something wrong with the way he got in.
Yeah.
But so the dude's take on it's like, oh, well, you want to get me kicked off? Now I'm going to try to win this seat instead of just kind of hanging out.
All right.
So at minimum, he wants to be a spoiler and make a mess of this thing. Yes, please, while you're in there, if you don't mind. More demonstrations at city council meetings, which I don't really care about. Oh, jeez, I almost forgot. I can't believe I almost forgot this one. Mr. Falafel. Mr. Falafel got arrested and got his shoulder fucked up by the old UTPD. Can't believe I almost forgot this one. This is going to be like...
I saw the picture of him. He was in a sling, but I didn't see anything that it had to do with his arrest.
He didn't have a sling when they arrested him. Huh. And apparently, according to him, he pinched a nerve or something. But he's so fucking nice. He was like, no, whatever.
Right.
Like, he wasn't mad about it. He's not going to sue the city over it.
Right.
I guess sue UT over it or whatever.
Some of those things where they'd warned him.
No, it's perfect. He is the perfect. If you're going to do some civil disobedience games in Knoxville, he's the man to do it.
Yeah, he said the only reason he stuck around and got arrested was he wanted to make sure, I guess, the other students that got arrested were safe, which kind of doesn't really make sense to me. But
I mean, to me, it's pretty. To me, it's probably. I don't know. I can't say this.
I don't know how accurate the story was, but apparently they'd had
nicest man in the nicest restaurant in America, according to Good
friendliest restaurant, something like that.
Yeah. Apparently, he's a cool ass dude.
Yeah. But apparently they were on the law school campus or whatever.
Right, and they were supposed to be on the.
They had
the
like
UC.
the area across. It was like apparently right across the street. I don't know.
Right, you're processing in the wrong square
But they
foot
had
of
that
grass.
through like Saturday, I think it said.
Right.
Like they
They
had
were-
that reserved to be able to go do that there.
They got arrested for protesting on the wrong square foot of.
No, they
UT
got arrested
grass.
for trespassing.
Well, he did maybe, but the students shouldn't have. They're allowed to be on
He got
campus.
criminal trespass because he had already been trespassed from there, I guess, at some previous point.
Whatever. I know
Oh.
it's an interesting thing. So it's like
I think he like told the cops he's like, I'm gonna leave in like 15, 20 minutes. I guess they weren't going to wait 15 or 20 minutes.
I don't think they should either. It's like, hey, you've got till then, and you're getting arrested. You got to do the thing. But at the same time, it's
At
like
a certain level, you've been warned. Like, hey guys, I don't know how aggressive they were, but it's like, hey guys, you guys can't be here. You guys need to leave.
all accounts as I've seen, it's been pretty cordial, and it's been pretty like intentional on the kids getting arrested part. It's like,
Right.
okay, we hear you, we understand the deadline that you're putting in place.
Right,
I'm not going anywhere. Do your thing.
right.
Which is, I mean, I think most parties are being appropriate all the time. I think one of the questions I have in it is, I think one of the things I suppose is one of the things that, at least so far, we'll see. I haven't heard of any of the punishments handed down to the students yet by the university. But, there's the severity of the crime versus the severity of the punishment.
Right.
Are these getting kind of delved out equally, both locally and nationally, in these protest conversations?
Yeah. Some other colleges, kids are getting kicked out. I don't know if those are ones that actually committed vandalism or
Not being
whatever.
permitted to graduate, and
Yeah.
which that's a fucking life changing thing for Oh my God! I broke a window on this building. I was in a building. I was in a building on a campus that I paid to be at after they told me to leave. Sure, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some sort of process, and they should be at least minimally removed from said place. But to put a long term stank on somebody,
Right.
seems like a little bit of overkill for a lot of these.
Yeah. I haven't heard specific examples of what a student did, that got expelled, like what the decision was to expel them.
Right. And I
It
guess
was just, 12 people got expelled from Acme University, whatever.
right. And so I don't know. And I was thinking about it earlier today, just in the grand scheme of what's going on with this whole protest movement on this certain thing. Because there are some out there that are kind of making the argument that, if it was the opposite of what it is, if this was some pro-Israel protests, that they wouldn't have the same level of getting it broken up by the police, and so everything that's happening wouldn't be the punishment side wouldn't be near as severe for the people involved if it was a pro-Israel rally or something like that. Which is hard to say. It's hard to prove the negative. Obviously, I agree with that. And so I was trying to think about it in like a hypothetical. Like, what's the hypothetical that really makes sense? It's like, well, what if it was a Klan rally? The Klan's not there's parts and pieces of this. Apparently, this Free Palestine group is a registered group at the University of Tennessee. Does the University of Tennessee have the right to refuse group statuses? I don't know. It's a good question. Like, if you go through the paperwork properly and you're all students, if we had a Klan group that wanted to do a protest on the UC lawn because that's apparently the designated protest area on UT campus, would they be allowed to? Would the general public's demeanor about how the punishment is dealt out be the same? Different? Greater, worse?
I don't think a Klan group would be allowed to be an official, sanctioned.
That's a valid
group
question.
or whatever.
I don't know what the rules are on making group statuses on campus, but again, we have
I'm
spots.
assuming you have a goal or
A stated mission of some sort.
right.
You could if you're creative enough, you could write that stated goal in a way that wasn't as blatantly like we are Nazis or we are white supremacists as what it actually is. But
Right.
so inversely, do you have to be some sort of it's just a weird thing to me to have an accreditation for a protest group. I need to be accredited and approved by the state to protest the state. Seems kind of weird. Now on campus, it's a little different. I get that, but the lawn out there in front of the city county building is kind of the approved place to protest city stuff.
Right.
So, like, I don't know, we had Black Lives Matter doing stuff there a couple of years back.
I mean, I don't think you have to don't have to be an official group to be able to request a permit.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at, and I think you're right. You shouldn't, by any means, like the idea of that seems ridiculous to me. But I guess that gets to the kind of the crux of the hypothetical I'm trying to kind of paint here. Does the aim of the group change how we feel about how the group is dealt with? And now, to me, it shouldn't. On a constitutional, argumentative basis, it shouldn't.
Right.
Now, I might have different personal feelings because it's a hate group, like it's truly a hate group, and again, I think there's, you don't have the legal right to advocate and instruct the public to go kill somebody or burn down buildings or do crime. Like that is not protected speech,
right,
to advocate for whatever. But, as long as you're within the bounds of that part of the free speech rule stuff, it shouldn't matter. And you shouldn't be as long as you're functionally acting the same as any other group, you should be afforded the same latitude as any other group, and you should be punished in the same level if a punishment part comes out. And I don't think that would be true I don't think most people would agree with me on that. I think they'd agree with me rhetorically, but in action, I don't think they'd agree with me. I think if the KKK wanted to do a rally in downtown Knoxville, go through the process, get a permit to do a parade or whatever the fuck it is they do nowadays, I think people lose their fucking minds. I don't want to see one, but I'm not going to. It's like, whatever, man. You're going to have a pride parade. That is wholly offensive to some people. Now, those people might be dumb. It doesn't really matter. That's wholly offensive to a large group of people that live nearby that don't want to deal with that. But you're going to say that one should be able to happen, but this other one shouldn't. That's not really a fair outlook to me.
Yeah.
Now, again, logically, I'm okay with one and I'm not okay with the other, but philosophically, legally, I'm okay with both. I would be perfectly fine with it because I wouldn't attend it, just like I don't attend the other one. Not because I have any issues with it, just because I don't do parades that much unless I'm in them. I love being in parades. I don't like going to watch them.
I don't know what they call it. I want to say it happened here at least once in the Iraq War protests, like mid 2000s or aughts, I guess is the cool.
I always find myself pissed off that I don't use it when I have the chance to. So good job using it.
Yay. But I don't know if Bush came to town, but there was something going on. There were people that were going to protest, and they allowed them a space to protest, but it was well away from where the parade was going to be or where anybody else was going to be. They're like, sure, you guys can go protest, but here's this parking lot way over there that you guys go do whatever the hell you want and protest all you want.
Well, we had something the other day, or not that long ago, where was the Proud Boys were here.
I didn't hear
but
about
it was in response to something else. They were the counter protest to the protest. I don't know. The idea of having a permit to get a permit to protest seems ridiculous to me. I guess it comes into question on whether these are organized events or this is just the free expression of people getting pissed off.
I mean, I would think it would be in your best interest to possibly, if you know that it was going to be, at least 100, to 500 people or whatever.
I don't know, but
just like you're planning an event, if it's a large enough event, you're supposed to have a permit because, the city needs to know, I guess, what's going to go on in that area, or if they need to prepare for said event.
Yeah, but I mean, but again, it goes to that question. So, if I wanted to put together a protest against the city's mismanagement of parking downtown,
all right,
are they going to give me a permit for my protest? Why would you grant a permit to somebody who is protesting you?
I mean, I don't know the rules are on a valid refusal of if there's a list of reasons.
Right. I mean, that would be the reason is you have to give it to me or I'm going to sue you, which is probably what ends up happening when stuff like that does go down, if it does go down that way. Right. But it's, I don't know, we're gonna occupy. Let's go occupy the gate or the Market Square garage and demand that they don't charge for nights and weekend parking. Let's go occupy that garage. I mean, we're technically trespassing anyway. There is no public property, really, when you get down to it.
Right, and whoever owns it could say you are monetarily depriving them of money.
But the Market Square garage is city-owned. That is a city-owned lot. I know that for a fact.
Right.
The city owns that piece of land. They own the building that's on that piece of land, which is a parking garage.
I'd say they probably pay a company to administer.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. The company, whether I get that might give them some legal loophole about trespassing thing, but it doesn't matter. If it's the city can charge you with trespassing on their property.
Right, I'm not saying they can't.
Right, they don't need this third party to come into it.
No, I'm saying the third party could come in, if it's run by Acme Parking or whatever, that they're the ones that administer it. The city owns it and all that, but they hire someone else to
Right, they can be the ones that put the trespassing charge out there and say, clear our lot. But
well, no, I'm saying that company could also sue you for, lost wages or whatever because you've blocked them from...
I don't know. That's, yeah, 6 or half.
They'd have to prove, but I think it has to be like over $1,000.
Right, but they'd also have to prove who? The organizer of it? Like, I didn't organize. I told some friends we're going to go stand around in the parking garage.
I mean, they could go after just the organizer, or they could go after
I only told 5 people, but 500 showed up. I can't be responsible for the other 495 people. That's not fair.
I mean, I don't know legally if they would say you were the one that set this in place.
But that's beside the point. Is what I'm trying to get to though. It's like the city owns it. The city has the right to remove you from it.
Right.
There is no such thing. Like public property is kind of a myth. I guess is what I'm trying to say. In general, it just is. Like
no, I mean it isn't. It isn't. It is public property. You can access it, within reasonable hours. To where as long as they don't have a posted sign that says you can't be here, like city park or city and county parks.
Right. They close at dusk.
Right.
Which it
is,
but even that side. I mean, but even that side is true. Like if I go take a nap on a park bench, and then this is really kind of fucked up, but it's very normal and very reasonable, I guess. Is if I look like I just fell asleep on a park bench because I was working out or something like that, they'll probably let me stay there. But if I have a whole bag of shit with me and I haven't showered in a month and a half,
I don't know if it's what it is in Knoxville. I've read a couple of those of cities that have those. But there's also a little caveat that you have to have like bedding with you. Like basically, if you're napping with like a pillow and a blanket, and
then
they could.
I think
so that's where they say you're being a vagrant or whatever.
I think long story short, if I go to Lakeshore Park and Knox County, that's a county park, right? And the sheriff's office comes and says I have to leave. I have to leave. Full stop.
Right.
Doesn't matter what I'm doing, what their reasoning is for it. At the end of the day, the county controls that piece of land, and the government of the county can remove me from that piece of land. And I can make the argument all day. It's like, well, I own this land too because I'm a county resident. It's like, no, you don't.
Right.
You really don't.
I love people to make that argument.
I mean, I will make that argument.
Like, I own everybody because I pay taxes.
I will own that. I will make that argument on many different things, including this one theoretically. But at the same time, it's like because it's one of those things. It's like it's one of the libertarian guys that I like and I listen to a lot. Like it's like there's a couple of issues that are very divided in the Libertarian Party. Border policy is one of them. U.S. border policy, like in the we're all free people, just go where you want to go. Would say that it's an open border policy, but the argument, the still libertarian argument against it's like, well, no, we collectively own that line. And we collectively can pick who we do and don't want to cross that line. Now, the true libertarian would say that the line does exist. The line existence doesn't matter. It's the line existence of the person who owns a piece of property that is next to the line and whether they're okay with somebody coming across their property. That's where the libertarian argument would really be on that. But so like you can flush it out in a way that it's like, well, if I don't want somebody to cross my property, even if the person on the other side of me wants them on both sides, like the place they're leaving doesn't care because they're leaving. The person that they're crossing my property to get to is good with them. I still have the right to not let them cross my property.
Right.
And so, like, if you kind of game that out for a little bit, it gets to making sense where you can make a libertarian argument for a closed national border. But it's the same thing on public use, public land, because it's like, well, we own the schools, right? They're Knox County schools. We pay for those with our taxes. I can't go and
can't sell it.
I can't do it, right? But I also can't. I couldn't go in it right now just to use the bathroom. Like, right. I'm not going to do any damage to it. I just want to go and use the bathroom or go get a book from the library. We own those books, right? They're all our books. Why can't I just go get a book right now? Because we agreed that that's not how that works. So it acts like a private piece of land, even though it's public property. It's kind of the point I'm trying to get to.
Right.
Which all that was to go to the garage thing. It's like, but anyway, Tyler, let's do it. Let's get an Occupy Market Square garage campaign going and say we're going to stay in this garage and not like just go down there and sit down there all day when it's pay time, and don't let anybody come in and park. And then when it turns free, you leave and let everybody free park, and be like, we demand you keep it free parking.
Oh, that's his goal, is to keep it free?
I don't know if
More
Tyler's
often?
got it or not. I don't really. I'm just Tyler's on my brain because he was on the parking conversation that I was having earlier. I mean, it's in his wheelhouse. I could see him doing it. It'd be fun. But anyway, we got off. Well, we got to mix parking and the protesters into one topic.
Yay!
That was most of what I wanted to cover. We
We
had a bunch of
need more parking for protesters.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We had a couple back and forth. We talked about our kicker guy back and forth a little bit today. Oh, did you look at this at all?
I glanced over the picture of it. I was trying to figure out who it was that it came from.
I know. I was trying to figure that out too. I didn't see it in the post either.
A quick Google, it kind of seems like a generic website where you can go and look up like investment advice, and I guess they're just like number crunchers.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning of since last week. So the Trump-Biden debate. There's two officially on the books. Oh yeah, that one too. I forgot about that one. They've agreed that they're not going to mess with the commission for presidential debates. So the group that usually puts on presidential debates has nothing to do with these.
I saw he put out a statement, I think today or yesterday.
Trump's asking for more. He wants more debates.
Okay.
Is that the statement you're talking about?
No, the guy that co-founded and started the whatever the fuck it's called,
The commission for
commission
presidential debates.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, honestly, the part of it makes sense. That part of it kind of makes sense to me because one of the things is the Commission for Presidential Debates has a very fixed schedule that they've done for a decade. Like, I think it was like in the 80s is when the League of Women Voters quit doing it.
No.
And it's interesting. Look that up if you ever have the time, anybody. The League of Women Voters used to be the operators and planners of the presidential debates, and they quit doing it because the parties were colluding to control the debates. And they're like, you know what? We're done. You fuckers have ruined the game. We don't want to play anymore.
Right.
And so the Commission on Presidential Debates comes in and takes its place, which it's half Democrats and half Republicans. Like, it is a partisan thing. It's a bipartisan partisan thing. Like, the parties control top people that work for the actual party themselves. Paid RNC, DNC members are part of the board of the Commission for Presidential Debates, which makes it kind of unlikely that they're ever going to do anything that would be a net negative for their party, and that's why we get stuck with the way it is. But the League of Women Voters quit because they saw the parties starting to work together to keep out the further democratic process of other party players coming to play and stuff like that. Thought that was an interesting little subset of history. Okay. Anyway, it makes sense. The scheduling part makes sense to me that they're pushing the schedule up, and it's interesting that Trump agreed to it in that sense because Trump is an anti-mail-in your ballot kind of guy.
I saw a story about that today.
But part of the reason they're pushing it up is because they want these debates to go on before because the second one's like late September.
I'm saying October maybe.
Or it's early, but it's early because mail-in voting starts like right in that window, and they want to get both debates in before the bulk of mail-in voting actually starts happening.
Yeah.
And so what used to be the third presidential debate in the cycle was like late October, leading up into actual election day. And so some of the scheduling part was that. You know, I'm not too upset that they're not having an audience. I'm actually kind of cool with that part.
I like the idea of it.
Of having an audience?
I didn't watch too many, but I don't know. A couple stories that talked about it said, that I guess there were times in previous that I guess I don't know how you get to be in that audience.
Cash money because you're a big donor for one of the parties.
I guess there wasn't like some kind of hooting and hollering and whatnot.
Yeah, it's usually top donors from the parties get seats and they give them to their friends or they come themselves. But the top donors for the party are also top donors for some of the individual candidates. And so functionally for them, there's value of them being part of the event, for lack of a better word. But RFK says he's eligible. Says he will be eligible by the time anything goes off. And so there's the big question to be is whether they're going to let him in. If they let RFK in, I'm going to be super excited because I think they should. I think Jill Stein should be there, and I think Cornel West should be there. Actually, I'm not sure about Cornel West right now. I think Jill Stein should be there.
I mean, like you said, they've got to draw a line somewhere as far as.
I mean, they poll like shit. They elect like shit. The Green Party is good. If they get 1%, that's a good year for them.
But you get somebody that has 4%. They're like, well, I have 3%. I'm only 1% off.
But I mean, they're on the ballot in all 50 states. I think that's. I mean, I think that's
what I meant to tell you. That I think that's what at least I think it's like the CNN one or something. That's you got to be on the ballot in like 23 states.
You have to be on the ballot in enough states where you could win.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how many states it is. It's just that the combined electoral college votes is enough to win. So if you're only on, I guess it's like 27 is the minimum you could pull it off with. You could be on 27 ballots, 27 state ballots. If you won them all, you would have enough electoral college votes to win the election.
Yeah, the guy I was just talking about that's like the co-chair, co-founder, and he also thinks that RFK should sue CNN to try to get on the debate stage.
He should. I mean, that's an easy thing for him to say since he wouldn't have let him on his stage, but he doesn't have to worry about that now because nobody's going to be on his stage. But yeah, he should. He should be on the ballot. He should be on the debate stage. I mean, look, 1%. What did we get to in 2020? What was like the total? It was one of the biggest years in elections ever, like 180 million.
No idea.
I think it was. I don't know. I'll look it up. You're looking at other stuff, right?
I was trying to see if I could find some statements from that guy that he's kind of talking about it. Because I guess he sat down for a podcast, but he sat down. This was like a Politico interview. I guess he sat down for as well, but he was on somebody's podcast in the last day or two talking about it.
I think it's 2020.
I guess getting his response to, I guess he got letters from Trump and the current administration. Biden's peeps.
2020. Fuck.
It would have been even funnier if the two candidates would have just kind of kept pretending like they were going to show up and just didn't show up that night.
155.4 million ballots cast in the 2020 election.
Okay.
All right, so 1% of that Jill Stein got, I think she got a little bit more than 1%, actually. It's like still 1.5 million people. That's a good, I mean, like, and in other cycles, 1.5 million would be like 10% of the election.
Yeah.
It's just that this was a particularly high turnout because of the craziness that was. But I mean, okay, 5%, maybe a 5% cutoff would be reasonable. 5% of that would be, 7 million people, 8 million people.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of you've got to be on the ballot in a certain number of states. It's like
I think that's a great. I agree with that 100%. I think you have to be capable of winning, but the problem with that is that it's a time. It can become a timing game. The number one problem with that, it's really fucking hard if you're not a Republican or Democrat to get on ballots.
Right.
That's its first problem with that part of the argument. But I agree. If you can't possibly functionally win, you shouldn't be there. Like actually, technically, like on a technical basis, not on a likelihood basis.
No, what does it take to get on the ballot? I mean, fuck, Kanye got on the ballot
in like 7 states,
right?
But it's, I mean, I think in Tennessee, you have to get 10% of the potential registered voters.
It's like signing
to
off
sign
on petitions.
a petition.
Gotcha.
And we talked about it last week. It's in Arizona or New Mexico right now. I think it's Arizona that both the DNC and the RNC are suing to keep RFK off because they don't think he has enough signatures, or they don't think he has enough legitimate signatures. And so, just for timing's sake, it's going to take weeks, a month, 2 months for the. Is it Nevada? I don't know. I'll stick with Arizona for conversation's sake. The Arizona Election Commission is going to have to go through line by line on RFK's petition to get on the ballot. You go through line by line, matching signatures, following up, doing that line by line. And if Arizona is the same as Tennessee at 10%. How many people think live in Arizona? How many registered voters do you think are in Arizona?
I love when you ask me questions.
I don't know the answer either. I'm just saying, like, give me a guess. Like, would you guess? How many people?
Registered voters in Arizona?
Here, well, let's just do it. I'll just look it up.
29 million.
Looks like 2.5 million.
Damn it. I was way off.
So, but still, 2.5 million, 10% of 2.5 million would be 210,000 people. Like, could you, again, question you don't know the answer. Could you guess maybe at how much that would cost to go through the process to try to get 210,000 people?
That's why you get volunteers.
Yeah, even with volunteers. Just in paperwork and lawyers that are going to be part of the process. It's millions of dollars to go through this process.
Very possibly, yeah.
Just to beg your way on a ballot that you're going to lose. I mean, let's be fair. Most likely you're going to lose. I don't know. I could see it this year because of the ridiculousness of the election we have coming up, but realistically, you're going to lose. And you got to talk people into giving you millions and millions of dollars, and they know full and fucking well that you're not going to win this election. They're giving you $1 million to put on the show because they think the show starts a process. That's your best sales pitch for the RFK team right now. Donate to our campaign. We're not going to win, but if we get a big enough number, it might change something the next election cycle or the next election cycle or the one after that.
Right.
That's your sales pitch. And you got to get enough people to go out there and knock doors and explain to people how all this process works. And then get them to sign a piece of paper that says, yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to vote for the guy or not, but he should be on the ballot. I would think a lot of people would be pretty open to it, honestly. But a lot of people aren't going to answer the door. A lot of people aren't home when you knock on the door. Like, I mean, it hasn't really started this year yet, but previous election cycles, I'll come home from work or whatever, and there'll be there'll be one thing in my mailbox and one thing on my doorknob or whatever where somebody'd stop by and try to talk to me.
I've ever gotten any of those.
It's because you don't vote.
I have.
Not recently.
No, not in a little while.
Again, that's the strategy that the big parties have, is because they have the money to know that. They have the money to know the answer on whether it's worth their time and money to go talk to you. And so the independent party, that's another thing that the RFK campaign's buying. They're buying that data from the election commissions so that they can see who the people that might actually let them.
Faulting them for making so much money on this?
Who?
RNC, DNC.
No, they work the game the way they work the game. I'm not really faulting them. Like I fault them for making it so difficult for these other players to get involved.
Oh.
But no, I get it. I mean, I understand it. You know, like we have a better chance of winning if it's just me. If it's a head-to-head fight between me and you, one of us is going to win. But we are both better off if that other guy isn't part of the game. Like, I get it. I mean, I don't like it, but I get it. I understand why you would move it that way.
I mean, businesses get to do it. Why can't politicians?
Well, because businesses are private entities and politicians are supposed to work for me and you. Business isn't.
DNC and RNC aren't politicians.
No, but the people that the job that they are doing is for a public representative.
True.
Okay, well, you're right. The RNC and the DNC can do whatever they want, but the people that they are supporting shouldn't, but they do too.
Right.
That, I guess, is the problem.
I guess candidates can play down. They're like, they're just supporting
me.
I don't tell them what to do. They just
like me.
I don't know what it is about me. I'm just a likable person.
Okay, so anyway, that's the big thing. So this one,
yeah, I meant to look this up.
Senate Bill 1810, local education under the local education agencies, as enacted, requires a request made by a student to an employee of the student's LEA, which I think is Learning Something Academy. It's basically it's their school, or a public charter school, basically anywhere that taxpayer dollars. Which actually, this is an interesting one on the voucher thing, even though the vouchers aren't happening. Anyway, as enacted, requires a request made by a student to an employee of the student's school or public charter school, for an accommodation to affirm the student's gender identity to be reported to a school administrator and to the student's parents, prohibits an employee of an LEA or public charter school from knowingly providing false or misleading information to a student's parents regarding the student's gender identity or intention to transition to a gender that differs from the student's sex at time of birth. Authorize civil actions to be filed by parents and by the Attorney General and reporter against a non-compliant school or charter school.
Wait, so you didn't know what LEA was?
I think it's...
It's literally in the first 3 words.
Oh, local education agencies. You're right. Shut up. Fuck your face.
You literally just read it, and I guess
know,
just skipped over that part
I was
of it.
speed reading Shut Your Hole. Anyway, basically, a tax-funded school must notify a parent if they are made aware of a student who thinks about transitioning or is talking about transitioning or wants to transition or wants to be affirmed as a different gender than one they were given at birth.
Oh, I think I may have read that kind of backwards. I thought it was saying that
it doesn't
you
say
couldn't
that they
give
can't.
a false.
It doesn't say that they cannot affirm a student's request for gender, whatever, or can't treat a student as a girl if they're a boy or whatever. It doesn't say they can't do that. It just says that they are obliged to report that to the principal and the parent.
Yeah,
which
I don't like it.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of an analogous off the top of my head, which I'm not doing a good job at, but I don't know. The school advises me when my kid falls down and thunks his head on the playground. Why do they do that? Because it could have there could be some long-term issues with the fact that he thunked his skull. Or she. I got boys, so it's a he, but whatever.
Why? You really don't know why they need to notify you if your child gets hurt at the school?
I mean, no, sure. Well, why would that one be a requirement? Because that is a requirement by law. It's not that they can choose to tell me or not tell me.
Right.
If they hit their head, they have to tell me.
Right.
That is it makes sense to me that something that could have a potential long-term ramification for my child, they should make me aware of.
I don't think it has anything to do with long-term. I don't know why you're throwing long-term into this.
Is it?
It's the fact that they are injured. Just like if your child went into a hospital and got hurt there, they would have to notify you, like, hey, while he was here, this light fell onto him, and we couldn't just not tell you about it.
Okay, fine. Then it's not a long-term thing. I don't know. I
just don't understand why you're throwing long-term into it. Because I mean, I see where you're trying to go with it, but I don't understand why.
Well, because I think the concern with concussion isn't the initial action of being hurt by the concussion; it's the long-term effects of what concussions can do.
You're not talking about concussions. I know what you're talking about when you're talking about long-term effects.
They thumped their head on the ground.
That's not. I'm not talking about being injured. I'm talking about this bill and what it's proposing it to do.
But the school.
So
I'm trying to make it analogous. Okay. I'm trying to make the analogy of the school is required by the state to tell me when my kid thunks his head because there's a potential that they may be concussed, and that we agree that there is long-term ramifications of concussions in people. Oh my God. Not long-term? There's no long-term ramifications of concussions in kids?
Yes, there are.
Okay. So that point about long-term is...
I understand that part of your analogy. Please tell me.
And so there are long-term consequences for people in transitioning. The simple and least damaging version of said long-term consequence would be they are a different person. By name, by action, by how they feel about themselves, by how they act. I think a parent has the right to know that. That's all I'm getting at.
It has long-term ramifications if a student decides they want to be called by a different name.
Yeah.
That is a long-term effect that could be detrimental to that student going on in life.
If it's not addressed, sure. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Them saying, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, I want you to call me this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end of the conversation. That student doing that, you think is grounds for the
I mean,
teacher to do
okay,
this
so-
in fear that they want to be called by a different name.
So on the same rationale of why they report the head injury to me as the parent, it's so that I can address it and pay attention to it and make sure that I keep my eyes on it. So for whatever reason, my kid goes and tells my son tells his teacher that he wants to be referred to as a girl. They make me aware of that. It's like, okay, do you want me to buy you different clothes when I go to the store? How am I going to know how to support my child in their transition if they won't tell me they're transitioning? They'll only tell their teacher. Let's do it on the positive spin, as if I'm not some weird transphobe parent. Like I would think that a parent would want to know that, even if they're for that.
I don't think that's what this bill is going after. It is going after the antithesis of your happy-go-lucky parent.
I mean, I don't know. I would be curious to know the origin story, like we talk about all the time on our bills that come through.
More so where
It's kids that don't
it
want
is
to tell
not
their
a
parents.
rare thing of even just physical abuse happening to children that are students. Yes? You would
Yeah.
agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you want to add fuel to that fire. Because obviously...
So the assumption is that I hate trans so much that I will beat my kid out of it. That would be my reaction.
No, that you would just one more reason to beat them that much more.
Oh, because I'm already beating them, presumably.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm assuming there's a reason why the parents would not know and the teacher would know. Maybe that school is the one place that student gets to go to and feel safe. And feel loved. But we now are going to require teachers when they get the hint of it, maybe?
No, I don't think maybe. I think it's a little bit more than a hint, but yeah.
I mean, I don't know the exact wording of the
I don't know.
bill.
I would have if one of my kids is getting into
Like, what if a kid just like goes through like a weird like dressing thing and just starts like wearing weird clothes? You gotta be like, I think they might be trying to transition. I need to go tell their parents. My teacher jumps the gun in that. They think they're obligated to inform the parents. They're like, I don't want to get in trouble
okay,
for not telling them.
If you want to have an argument about how much shit we throw on teachers and their requirements and to do stuff, that's a great argument to have. I agree with you on that one. But
No, I'm just saying this is a fucking stupid thing.
okay, something. But
To then require teachers to do this.
I don't know. If you're gonna have a lot of requirements on stuff where teachers are required to report a bunch of shit to admins and stuff like that, anyway, I don't super see this as an all out ridiculous as you see it.
I think it's fucking stupid.
Because I think I would think that I don't know. This would be a
No,
curious question.
I'm sorry. A school does not
I
have
could
the
ask-
right to out a person.
I would argue on the person part, but okay.
What do you mean?
If my kid had a bunch of bruises on him, I'd be curious. This is a real question. I don't know the answer to it. But if my head came in with a bunch of bruises on it, they would be obliged to do something. Would I be part of that information chain?
They probably wouldn't go to you first, no.
I don't know how I feel about that one either. I think I think I have the right to know that.
They don't have the legal authority to investigate possible abuse.
But they have the obligation to report it to admins.
They have the obligation, I'm pretty
Who will
sure, to
then
report
probably-
it to legal authorities. Yes.
Right,
Just like
the admin would have to
just
turn-
like doctors have to do that as well.
Okay. But
If
I
there's-
think
if there's suspicion of abuse, I'm
okay.
pretty sure
okay.
doctors
let
are.
me see if I can throw a hypothetical
Okay.
together real quick.
Oh, let's do this.
You know, so we got a separated family, right? So the kids spend most of the time with their mom or whatever, their weekends with dad, kind of semi-generic divorce situation or whatever like that. And a Monday morning, the kid shows up with bruises. Do they tell the mom? Because they assume the dad did it? Or do they not tell anybody? Or do they report it to the admin, and the admin reports it to the nurse, and the nurse looks it over, and then they report it to police? I
don't think the school would have any fucking clue that it was their dad's weekend and it's the mom's weekend.
They know that there's a divorce, and I bet you they know the generals of the custody. I bet they do.
Depending on the student. There's some students that, yes, teachers are closer to and know a little bit more about family life, but I'd say most of my teachers didn't know shit about my family life.
Yeah, that's fair. But I get it. Like, okay, so but I'm just saying, like, if again, fully hypothetical, if I were divorced and my wife was beating the shit out of my kids and they take them to school on Monday, I would like to know that as a parent. Maybe that's the reason we got the divorce in the first place, because my wife was violent. Again, to be clear, this is all completely hypothetical for the sake of conversation. None of this is actually true.
Right.
But I would like to know that. I would sure as shit like to know that before a cop knocks on my door and starts the accusatory process of it.
I don't know. I would say that may be something where they might call you in, like, hey, can we come in and, like, or can you come in and talk to us? I don't know. I don't know what the protocol is on that.
I don't know the policy on it either, and I'm very curious about it as we're discussing right now. But I think this could be something that falls under that same kind of subset.
You know, friends in high places that can give you these answers.
I do have a couple of school board reps I could call. I could probably text one right now and she'd text back. Right. But I don't. By the time she texts back, we'll be on to another topic.
Oh, right.
Get weird.
I'm just saying. I don't know if it's worth going down multiple rabbit holes and hypotheticals.
I don't know. To me, like,
we could put it on pause and find out more about what at least Knox County, or if each school has a different policy. No, it'd have to be countywide.
All right. So, like, okay. So I'll give as much as to say that obliged. No, I think I could get on board with you. I could get on board with the not being obliged to notify me, but I do think it should be something that should be a recorded, documented thing. And I think they should be obliged to answer if I ask.
Maybe something that stays in your school file. I don't know. But
that's what I'm saying. I think I could get behind the premise of it maybe not being obliged, that they don't have to tell me unless I ask. But if I ask and say, hey, I think maybe my kid's transitioning. They don't want to talk to me about it. Have they said anything to you? I think they absolutely should be legally obliged to answer that. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, there's no teacher-student confidentiality.
Right. I think if there's any, and I think and I think this would fall into the category of something that I think should be at least worth a note somewhere on file. And I'm okay with the premise of having at least obliging them to put notes on file.
I'd like to think if I were the teacher, I'd be like, I think you need to talk to your child. It's probably an issue if they're more comfortable opening up to.
I agree with that. I'm not disagreeing with you that, but I don't on a functional basis on all and again, not on this topic in particular, but on all topics. I think if I ask the admin or the teacher about it, I think they should be obliged to answer. If they know a fact.
I don't see, like, the detriment that you're viewing in this. We're not talking about, like, surgical transition or doing hormone transition, which the students would not be able to do on their own anyway. They would have to have parental consent to go and have any kind of medical procedure or get medication, etc.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
I'm not sure.
Pretty sure if you're a minor, you have to have some kind of legal guardian unless you've been emancipated.
Emancipated.
Yeah.
Emaciated.
Emaciated.
You guys should stop eating.
You got to be about to die before they let you do it.
Well, you have to have a parent sign off on what exactly?
Medical procedures.
False. That is not true.
Okay. What can be done without parental consent?
You can get vaccines without parental consent as low as 12 in the state of Tennessee.
Is that considered a medical procedure?
I would think so.
I don't think that's considered.
Can I give my kid a vaccine? Do you have to be a trained professional to administer a vaccine?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's a medical procedure.
Okay.
It is. Like, that's factually true.
Okay. I'm trying to think of, like, a good thing that doesn't make fucking sense, but
I'm just like, but I mean, it's just it you know, there is it an exception to most things? Maybe. You know, I mean, it might be that is a particular carve out exception.
Anyway, sorry. Going back to my point that I was trying to make.
Yeah, please. Sorry.
We're not talking about a student that's trying to do any of that whatsoever. They decide They just want to be identified as something else. I remember the first day of school, I don't know how many, like at least a lot of classes, 15, 20% of the kids didn't go by their name. They're like, hey, my name's Billy Joe Bobby, but I want you to call me Ted. And it's like, okay. There was no question whatsoever. It wasn't them trying to identify as a different sex. I get that, but
right,
the teacher never blinked an eye. It's like, okay, whatever. You want to be called by this, fine. Some kids would fuck around, but if they want to do it, fine. Like, I'll call you that. I'll call you Joe. Fine. You want to be called Joe? I'll call you Joe.
Yeah.
You call Joanne? I'll call you Joanne.
You're going to be sneaky about
just
it.
Don't go to sleep in class.
A non-gender specific name, and then you can do the thing. Whatever. All right. Anyway, that's that thing. I don't know. It is.
It seems another erroneous bill that is,
I'll agree with you.
Fucking useless.
Right. I'll agree with it. It's
but hey, they get to be culture warriors.
Right.
We're fighting this wave.
It is politics for politics' sake. I agree with you on that 100%. I also think it's adding another thing to the teacher's plate that is already full. And I'll agree with that as well. I think we ask too much of our teachers. Full stop. I just think it's just like it's it's a greater political cultural issue that we have but I don't know, but there's part of me too it's like that's kind of what we're asking for, sort of. We're asking for the babysitter and educator and social worker. That's what we're asking for. For other kids, not my kids. For other kids, like somebody has to step in with.
I see the babysitter to an extent. I don't know about social worker.
Oh, that's it. Forget this fucking map. That's what I want to spend the rest of the show pitching my fit about.
Bring it.
So, are you familiar with the Aspen portal in the Knox County school system?
No idea.
All right, so Aspen's like this big. It's this huge software program that the Knox County Schools uses to keep grades and all that kind of stuff and documentation and all this, that, and the other on all the kids. Yes, please. Again, your timing is perfect tonight. It's this whole. It's basically their online system for grades and the other stuff. So today, Friday, the 17th of May, was the deadline for teacher to make sure they had all their grades into Aspen. The last day of school is Thursday. Not yesterday. The Thursday that is not here yet. Now we did the same. We did this episode almost the same exact time last year. The semester is done. School is over. But
they don't have to have the grades in until next Thursday. Is
we have 3.5. We have 3. No, everything has to be into Aspen today.
Okay.
All the grades have to be in today. I should be able to go online tomorrow and do my parent login to Aspen.
See the final grades.
Kids' final grade for their classes.
Okay.
There's 3.5 days of school left.
All right.
What are we doing?
Is Aspen used countywide?
Yes.
Okay. Are all schools stopping on the same day?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, my first guesstimate that it's probably geared more towards middle and high school, to where there are finals that. Actually, I don't know, do they still handwrite shit in school?
No, they do most of their testing in Aspen. Like the teacher puts the test in and they do it on there.
Gotcha. But I mean, it's not. Say they were essays that actually had to be read and graded.
Right, they'd have to be done by today. They'd have to be in Aspen graded today.
Okay.
Like the inverse of what you're trying to get to theoretically makes sense. That they could have a test on Monday, and if they do their test in Aspen, it's already in there, so the grades will be there. But no. The school year is done. Right now. We have 3.5 days of school left. I even preempted the argument. I told him on Monday, I was like, do not ask me if you can not go to school for the rest of the year. Unless you are sick, you are going to school. Monday, there's a field trip that he didn't want to go to. That's like a celebratory, like it's a party day where they all go to Main Event and play video games and bowl and do whatever they do at Main Event.
Right.
He didn't even ask. He didn't want to go. He didn't even ask me if he could go. I would have said, sure, if you want to, and I would have paid the $25 or whatever. And so Monday, he will be in the library doing busy work. Like doing sheets. I can't remember what he called them, but it's like sheets, like just practice sheets of shit.
Does he have to do them?
Or he'd sit there and do nothing for the day.
No, you're in a fucking library.
I mean, I guess you could read a book, maybe. I don't know. That's a good
They don't have
question.
computers in there either? They're forcing him like, no, you...
That's good. It's,
books
I don't
all
know.
around you. You cannot read. You must only do sheets.
I'm going to guess it's probably close to that, yeah.
I highly doubt it. I can't
Or
foresee any teacher
complete the
being
sheets
like
and
that.
then you can go play on the computer, or then you can go... Because they already took their Chromebooks up, so they can't do anything on their computers anymore anyway. They took their Chromebooks up Thursday.
No, but there's school computers in the library, I'm assuming.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, so my assumption would be, and I don't know the correct answer, it's my guess would be that it's like, here are your sheets. When you finish the sheets, you can go get a book, or you can go play on the computer, or you can go do whatever. That would be my...
I'm assuming they're giving them the sheets as just an option. I don't think it's a requirement. It's like, oh, you didn't go on the field trip? You have to sit there and do sheets.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
We don't give a sheet. You got to do sheets.
But still, the principle of what I'm getting to here is irrelevant. Literally, I'm only sending my kid to school on Monday. They're not taking attendance. So we don't get a hit on the attendance part. Like, I'm only sending my kid to school for a babysitter. Literally. That's the only reason I'm sending him to school on Monday.
Okay, put it on your list of stuff to ask the school board people about. I don't know.
I'm not...
I get what you're saying.
I'm not asking you for an answer here.
I know.
But I'm going to compound this argument. I'm going to add to this argument just a little bit, in that we had that whole week off for the snow. Right?
Yeah.
And we used up all of our potential days off. And then to make sure we had a little cushion just in case something happened, they took one Monday holiday away and made him go to school on that Monday. And then they took 2 half days away. There's actually 3 technically, because one of them was during that thing. It's a whole big mess. But they took 3 half days away to get him back so that they had 2 cushion days. And then they gave him a half day back for the eclipse that we didn't get to see because it was cloudy. Which, that's not their fault. Don't get me wrong. So, but we did all this weird...
Can't see shit anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I was saying, that's not their fault. It was cloudy. Just
And
happened.
I'm saying, even outside of cloudy, we weren't in really any
No, we got it. We saw a couple glimpses of it. It was definitely noticeable. It wasn't a full, like, we couldn't see the full coverage.
Just like a quarter, maybe? What did
No, we got like
here?
80%. It was most of it.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't
It
know.
was pretty good. It wasn't as good as the one a couple years ago.
I thought it looked like the path of totality was pretty far outside of us.
It was like West Tennessee. I think Memphis got it. They were like right on the edge.
Okay, sorry.
And west of there. Anyway, but so we did all this finagling to try to make sure we had cushion days so that we didn't have to add days to the end of the year in case we missed another day or 2 for weather or something like that.
So are you more upset that they had to have grades in by a certain date, and then there's days after, or...
I'm upset because they're making a big fucking deal about education days, and we're planning to throw 4 away. It's in the schedule. It's scheduled that we're not even going to bother with the last 3.5 days of school. That's what I'm upset about. Like, if it didn't matter, like, okay, so realistically...
That's the first time that happened. Have you ever asked the teachers? Seriously.
Why we don't do anything for the last week?
Yeah.
No, I haven't asked the teachers why we don't do anything for the last week.
I mean, obviously, try to ask it in a nice way if you want to get any kind of decent answer out of them.
No, I think
like,
I think the appropriate way to ask questions is like, are we going to do anything last week at school?
I wouldn't do it in that kind of tone, but hey, do you?
I'm just saying, like, I mean, because it's what it is. Like,
No, just be like, I want to understand this. Like, I know we were pushing for, trying to get more school days in, and I'm trying to understand, like, did we get through more stuff in your lesson plan? Because it seems like everyone, we got the end of the year, but we still got 3 more days. Like I said, they're not taking attendance. I don't know why you would send them to school anyway.
Because I'm a rule follower that way. Because if there's school in, you're going to school.
But you're despising that they're even doing it. It's almost like you're spiting your kids despite the school system.
Maybe, I don't know. Like, there's part of me that's
like, oh, you're gonna make me go? Well, go deal with my kids for a day.
Yeah, maybe.
You're still open.
I paid you to fucking be here. Do the job.
Right.
Except they're only going to do like a quarter of the job. Because they're actually not going to bother teaching them anything. They're just going to babysit them for me for the day.
Right. No, I'm trying to play the middle of the road and maybe look for an explanation before.
If my life circumstances were different, then I might actually need them to be there for the 3.5 days of next week.
Right.
Where my life situation, it doesn't really matter to me.
Right.
I'm indifferent to it. We're fine if they stay here or they go there.
I
could go with 3.5 less days of them in my life, but whatever.
I'm just saying, maybe try and ask for an answer before going off on a tirade.
That one I will ask Jennifer about for sure. I will be texting Jennifer once after the fact and saying.
So I'm assuming there's probably at least one halfway decent reason that they do this.
I can imagine it's no, I can't. No, not if the grading's already due. Like, I can imagine the idea of saying, okay, well.
I'm trying to remember high school, I think there was maybe like.
We had tests
one
all the way
day
at the end.
Right, that's what I was trying to think.
Like, the half day was a joke.
Yeah, that was hilarious when we went from. Actually, yeah.
I didn't do the
You lived
transition.
halfway through.
I was always block schedule.
She came in halfway through your middle school. Or halfway through your freshman year.
Yeah.
Right,
we were already on block.
But we were transitioning into block.
Now,
They had already started block.
You'd started block at the beginning of that year.
But I don't think they did it just for the first semester.
Oh, I didn't start till January.
They did random half days, and part of it was, I guess, some of the older grades above or the classes above us, and it was funny because we went from middle school, which had an average of 45, 50-minute classes, to where the high school teachers were had been doing 1.5 hour periods for 4 periods a day. And we're I only have 45 minutes. There's not shit I can do in 45 minutes. I was really? I just did a whole bunch of grades. Yeah, we've been doing it the whole time. What do you mean you can't do shit in 45 minutes?
Yeah, I don't know. I just Anyway, I don't. It bothers me, and you're right. I should ask the people who have some insight on it instead of just pitching my fits.
Because maybe that's all it is. Maybe it is middle school and high school that are doing their finals all the way up to the end, and they're we can't just let elementary school out early.
Well, it's my middle schooler that I'm talking about. That's the one who bothers me about it. The elementary school's parties. It's we did field day last week.
Well, maybe it's a high school thing.
We did party day this week, or they did their party today. The 5th grade graduation's on Wednesday.
What? Okay, sorry.
Oh, we did graduation from fucking preschool, man. They do graduation ceremonies for everything, for every break now. There's an 8th grade commencement ceremony.
That's stupid.
I agree.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that shit. I think I did something.
I can see this is your last hoorah at this place. We're going to throw a party for the last time that you're in this building. I can see that being a thing, but here's your rolled up piece of paper and a stupid hat.
Each class having the option to kind of do their own, which some class may get felt left out if a teacher was I'm not doing an end of the year party.
You guys were assholes all year. Right? Fucking with y'all.
Right.
That was weird. Yeah. So, family income map, apparently the reason I'm so broke is because the average income for, according to whoever the fuck this is, I really can't see it.
It's like a statistical company, basically, when I did a little quick search.
As of February 14th, 2014, the average need income for the state of Tennessee in a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 kids, $196,000 a year. I don't make that.
Not me neither.
So that sucks. That's a lot of fucking money.
And they gave it what do they call it? A 50-30-20 or something, going off a 50-30-20 model. They kind of reference it down in one of the boxes where you're spending this much
20
on
20 on mortgage, 50 on food, 30 on other, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Extra money basically.
Yeah.
What that they added in 10% to go into retirement.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if I hit that number, I'd be putting 10%.
I think that was part of their calculation.
I think that you're right. There is an old school standard budget breakdown of the perfect household budget is,
It's your daily things. It's your food and groceries.
Your mortgage should be less
10% or for just random shit you want to buy.
Right.
But
because I think the reality anymore is
I think it was at least 10 to 20% of your assuming monthly income you should be putting away into retirement.
Yeah,
which is a very responsible thing to be doing. But
right, then why am I paying Social Security? Well, I'm not. I don't pay Social Security anymore.
Not for yourself.
I don't pay it for anybody. Well, yeah, I pay the employee match, I guess. Yeah, I pay for yeah. You're right. I pay for your Social Security, but not for my own.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was feeling it twice. I'm sorry.
So here we got a college puts the cat into education by giving Max an honorary doctor in literature degree. Oh.
Is that why you picked that one? Because it was there's like 6 puns in the fucking headline.
Well, they put cat in education, but I don't think a lot of people realize that CAT is in the middle of education.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Vermont University has bestowed the honorary degree of Doctor of Literature on Max the Cat, a beloved member of its community, ahead of students' graduation on Saturday. Honoring the feline not for his mousing or napping, but for his friendliness. Max the Cat has been an affectionate member of the Castleton family for years, the school said in a Facebook post. Lives on the street that leads to the main entrance to the campus. So he decided that he would go up on campus, and he just started hanging out with the college students, and they love him.
Reading books.
Huh?
There's doctorates in literature.
Literature.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, it was another pun.
Does he, like... But he's a stray.
No.
Is that lived on the street leading up to campus?
Lives in a house up the street from the campus.
Up the street. Okay.
Sorry, I mumbled.
My bad, I misheard.
Yeah. Lives in a house with his human family on the street that leads up to the main entrance.
And wanders outside and hangs out with the kids. Check.
I guess he hadn't started going up and seeing them.
All right, one more. I mean, what's sad is I heard the pun, and I just put literature in place. So that's my bad. That's really my bad. You said it right.
Okay. Trying to see if there's any other good ones. Got Up in Smoke. Workers removed dozens of apparent marijuana plants from Wisconsin Capitol Tulip Garden. Someone's plans to harvest dozens of apparent marijuana plants grown on the Wisconsin State Capitol grounds have gone up in smoke. The plants sprouted in a tulip garden outside the Capitol. Spokesman for the State Department administration told Associated Press in an email that workers had removed the plants, but that her agency couldn't determine if they were marijuana or hemp. Both are forms of cannabis, but only marijuana has the compound that gets people high. Let's see. He didn't respond to questions.
Oh, that's neat. I didn't know that.
Examined the plants before they were removed. Told the station cannabis plants told the AP on Friday she couldn't say for certain whether they were the same fucking thing.
Right.
It was just a large number of plants for it to be anything accidental.
I mean, that's a good prank. I like it. I mean, you know you're not going to get away with it. You know you're not going to sneak back in there and get some buds off it. You know, I mean, we were looking at UT's budget a couple weeks ago. Their groundskeeping, I would assume that University of Tennessee Knoxville campus groundskeeping is a multi-million-dollar budget. UW-Madison, excuse me. I don't think it's quite as big as UT Knoxville, but it's a big fucking school.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the flagship school for the state of Wisconsin. It's the only really major university in the state. It's in the capital of the state. Like, it's a big part of that, but that's a good prank. I like it. I like that because no, they didn't do that. It wasn't like they were trying to sneak it because they were going to harvest it. They did it. Whoever did it as a prank. That's the only explanation that makes sense.
Sure, Puxatawny Phil has had babies, or his wife had babies. Shadow and Sunny.
The babies are Shadow and Sunny?
Yeah.
That doesn't... So Sunny's going to be Phil in a couple of years? I mean, it doesn't... like.
The second part of the headline was,
the same as
just don't call them the heirs apparent.
Because, yeah, it's like Smokey at UT games. That's not the dog's real name. It's, Oliver or whatever the people that own the dogs call him, but he's Smokey on game days.
See, these kits are not These kits of his are not replacements. They're not the heir apparent.
Right. It's going to be some other random groundhog they pull out and call it Phil.
Sonny and Shadow will not be part of the ceremony. It's still Phil's job. There's only one Puxatawny Phil.
How old is Puxatawny Phil?
I don't know.
That's a good question. All right, last call, friend.
I got a West Virginia candidate hospitalized after being bitten by snakes while removing campaign signs.
Ooh.
Ooh, copperhead snake bites. Damn.
No, that's just a good story. I mean, good on him for picking the signs up because Knoxville candidates don't do it.
Yeah, it's always funny to see how long they stick around for.
I've joked with Tina, the principal at my kid's school right here, because I know they're obliged by law in the state of Tennessee to remove them by 10 a.m. the following morning after Election Day.
Yeah, but is it enforced?
Nope. And she gets so pissy about it. And then Knox County Schools, like maintenance and yard crew, whenever they come out and mow, they pick them up and throw them away.
Yeah.
So they sit out there until the next time they mow the lawn is really the reality, at least at my school where that is a voting location. So, anyway, that's the show, everybody. Don't send your kids to school on Monday. Skip it. Just skip the rest of the week. It's summer. Summer is on us. There's no point in going. Don't bother. Anyway, almostagreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. Check out all the stuff we got going on there. Hollerboo is coming up in October. You can go ahead and register if you want to be a vendor or a, what do they call those things? Oh, a Subbox Derby driver, because we do a Subbox Derby, and it's fun, and it's crazy, and it's going to get extra crazy this time because we're going to add a big old right-hand turn, so make sure your car has the ability to turn, and the brakes work. It's important things that we do. Favorite podcast provider, tell them all about us. Shoot me an email. Tell me how wrong I am about the parking situation or kids transitioning without telling parents or whatever. I don't know. Almost Agreement on your favorite podcast provider. 5-star review. All those good things. Tell your friends about it. Text us to your friends so they can pick us up as well. We appreciate everybody for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon. And good night.
That's the thing I was just thinking about. Like most teachers